Have you ever wondered what devastating secrets could be hiding behind the perfectly manicured lawns and stately columns of Atlanta's most prestigious neighborhoods? What darkness might lurk beneath the polished veneer of success and respectability? On a sweltering August afternoon in 2008, one family's carefully constructed facade came crashing down in a way that would leave an entire community reeling from the aftermath. The thermometer had pushed past 95 degrees that day, the humid air hanging thick and heavy over the tree-lined streets of North Atlanta's Riverside district. Inside one of the neighborhood's grand Victorian mansions, a discovery was about to shatter not just a family, but an entire community's sense of security and understanding of those they thought they knew. Welcome to True Crime Stories Archive, your gateway into the chilling world of real-life horror. Here, we delve into the darkest corners of humanity, unearthing terrifying stories that will leave you questioning everything you think you know about human nature. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and join our community of true crime enthusiasts as we explore cases that remind us that sometimes the most frightening monsters aren't hiding under our beds, but living right next door. The story of the Thompson family begins like so many American success stories, wrapped in the warm glow of achievement and respectability. Yet beneath this gleaming surface churned a maelstrom of repressed desires, forbidden relationships, and devastating secrets that would ultimately lead to murder. William Bill Thompson embodied every aspect of the American dream that his peers had come to revere. In the summer of 2008, at age 56, he stood at the pinnacle of Atlanta's business community, his name synonymous with success and philanthropy. His chain of hardware stores, Thompson's Tools and more, dotted the Georgia landscape like crown jewels in a businessman's empire, each location a testament to his entrepreneurial prowess. The youngest of three children, born into a modest working-class family, Bill's early years provided little indication of the empire he would eventually build. Yet even as a young boy, he exhibited an innate understanding of business and an unwavering determination that set him apart from his peers. These qualities, combined with his natural charisma, would later become the cornerstone of his success. After graduating from high school in 1970, Bill's academic journey led him to Georgia State University, where he pursued a degree in business administration. It was here that the foundation of his future empire began to take shape, as he absorbed every lesson and opportunity that came his way. His time at university wasn't merely about academic achievement. It was about laying the groundwork for a future that, on the surface, seemed destined for greatness. The evolution of Bill's career traced an impressive trajectory through the retail sector. What began as an entry-level position soon transformed into a series of promotions and achievements, each step carefully calculated and expertly executed. By the dawn of the new millennium, Thompson's Tools and more had expanded to encompass 10 thriving locations across Georgia, each store a testament to Bill's business acumen and customer-first philosophy. In Atlanta's social circles, Bill Thompson was more than just a successful businessman. He was a pillar of the community. His involvement in local charities wasn't merely performative. It was deeply ingrained in his public persona. The fundraisers he hosted became legendary events, drawing Atlanta's elite into his orbit while simultaneously supporting causes that benefited the less fortunate. His warm smile and seemingly approachable demeanor made him appear accessible despite his wealth and status. Yet beneath this carefully cultivated image of the successful businessman and philanthropist lay a man wrestling with profound personal demons. The weight of his secret struggles cast long shadows over his achievements. Shadows that would eventually engulf not only his life, but the lives of those closest to him. Enter Vanessa Thompson, a woman whose own story was equally compelling, though markedly different from her husband's. At 54, she embodied grace and compassion, qualities that had defined her long before she became Mrs. Thompson. Born and raised in Savannah, Georgia, Vanessa grew up surrounded by the warmth of a large, close-knit family whose values would shape her future path in profound ways. Her journey began at Spelman College, where she graduated in 1909, 976, with a degree in education driven by an unwavering desire to make a difference in young lives. Returning to Savannah after graduation, Vanessa embarked on what would become a distinguished career in education, taking her place at the front of high school classrooms where she would spend the next 2 decades molding young minds. As an English teacher, Vanessa's impact extended far beyond grammar lessons and literary analysis. Her dedication to her students transcended the traditional boundaries of education as she invested countless hours ensuring that even the most struggling students found their path to success. Her colleagues often marveled at her ability to connect with students others had given up on, earning her a reputation as both a gifted educator and a compassionate mentor. The fateful intersection of Bill and Vanessa's lives occurred at a charity event in Savannah in 2001. The gathering, designed to raise funds for local youth programs, became the backdrop for what appeared to be a perfect love story. Their shared commitment to community service created an immediate connection, while Bill's charismatic personality and apparent devotion to making a difference resonated deeply with Vanessa's own values. Their courtship moved at a whirlwind pace, culminating in a wedding in 2002 that merged not just 2 lives, but 2 families. Vanessa's relocation to Atlanta with her young son Darius marked the beginning of what seemed to be a perfect blended family. Bill, despite having no children of his own, embraced the role of stepfather with an enthusiasm that initially appeared genuine and heartfelt. The early days of their marriage painted a picture of domestic harmony. Bill's interaction with Darius, though initially met with reservation from the young boy, gradually evolved into what appeared to be a strong father-son bond. Bill took on the mantle of mentorship with apparent dedication, helping Darius with his studies and encouraging his various interests with what seemed to be genuine investment in the boy's future. Darius Johnson, at 21 years old in 2008, represented the embodiment of youthful promise and potential. Born in Savannah in 987, his early life was marked by the profound absence of his biological father, who abandoned the family when Darius was merely 5 years old. This early loss carved a void in the young boy's life, a space that would later be filled, albeit complexly, by his stepfather Bill. Despite the early trauma of paternal abandonment, Darius exhibited remarkable resilience and intellectual prowess. His academic achievements painted the portrait of a young man destined for excellence, particularly in the realms of mathematics and science. His natural aptitude for problem-solving and innovative thinking set him apart from his peers, leading him to pursue mechanical engineering at the prestigious Georgia Institute of Technology. Within the halls of Georgia Tech, Darius quickly distinguished himself as more than just another bright mind. His professors frequently noted his exceptional ability to approach complex engineering challenges with an innovative perspective that set him apart from his fellow students. His academic excellence, however, represented only one facet of his multifaceted character. The wrestling mat became Darius's second home during his high school years, a passion that followed him into his collegiate career. His athletic prowess manifested in powerful takedowns and strategic maneuvers that earned him numerous accolades in his weight division. The discipline required for wrestling shaped not only his physical form but also his character, developing into a well-muscled frame that reflected years of dedicated training.
Pause. Before we continue with this story, allow me to share something important with you. Looking at our channel analytics, it's clear that many of you watching our true crime stories are not yet subscribed. In fact, about 85% of our viewers haven't hit that subscribe button. If you're finding value in our content and want to support what we do, please take a moment to subscribe and turn on notifications. It helps us continue bringing you these meticulously researched true crime stories, and ensures you won't miss any future uploads. Now, let's get back to our story.
The relationship between Darius and Bill evolved from initial uncertainty to what appeared to be a strong father-son bond. Bill's consistent presence and apparent genuine interest in Darius's well-being gradually eroded the walls of caution the young man had built around his heart. Their connection seemed to deepen through shared moments of mentorship, whether discussing academic challenges or life decisions. But beneath the surface of this seemingly perfect family dynamic, unseen currents were beginning to stir. The complexity of their relationship would eventually reveal itself in ways that would send shockwaves through their community and challenge everything people thought they knew about the Thompson family. Bill Thompson's carefully constructed public persona masked decades of internal struggle that began in his adolescent years. During his teenage years in late 1966 Atlanta, he grappled with feelings that seemed impossible to reconcile with the rigid social expectations of the era. His growing awareness of his attraction to other young men created a profound inner conflict in a time and place where such feelings were considered not just taboo, but dangerous. The summer before his senior year of high school, at age 17, became a pivotal moment in Bill's life. An intimate encounter with a trusted male friend marked his first exploration of these suppressed desires. The experience was simultaneously exhilarating and terrifying, creating a complex web of emotions that would haunt him for decades to come. The intensity of the connection went beyond physical attraction, touching something deeper that both boys, bound by the social constraints of their time, agreed to bury in silence. Following this watershed moment, Bill dedicated himself to constructing an impenetrable facade of conventional success. He channeled his energy into his studies and later his business ventures, building a life that aligned perfectly with societal expectations. This carefully crafted exterior served as a shield, protecting him from confronting the truth about his sexuality while simultaneously trapping him in a prison of his own making. However, by 2005, as Bill's business empire reached new heights of success, the cracks in his carefully maintained facade began to show. The very achievements that should have brought him satisfaction only seemed to intensify his internal struggles. His interactions with male friends and business associates became increasingly charged with unspoken tension, manifesting in lingering handshakes and prolonged eye contact that spoke of deeper, unvoiced desires. The pressure of maintaining his public image while wrestling with his true nature led Bill to seek outlets for his suppressed feelings. His business trips became opportunities for clandestine encounters in distant cities where his reputation couldn't follow him. In these anonymous settings, far from the watchful eyes of Atlanta society, Bill found temporary relief from the suffocating weight of his double life. The guilt of these secret liaisons competed with the thrill of finally acknowledging his true desires, creating a cyclical pattern of shame and exhilaration that began to consume him. Each encounter left him both satisfied and more deeply troubled. The temporary release always followed by intensified self-loathing and fear of discovery. The situation took an even more complex turn as Darius matured into early adulthood. Bill found himself increasingly aware of his stepson's physical presence, a realization that filled him with both horror and an undeniable attraction. Darius's athletic build, honed through years of competitive wrestling, became a source of forbidden fascination for Bill. The guilt of these feelings toward his stepson added another layer of torment to his already complicated emotional state. As Darius continued to excel in his collegiate wrestling career, the dynamic between stepfather and stepson grew increasingly strained, though neither openly acknowledged the shifting undercurrents. Bill's attempts to maintain appropriate boundaries only seemed to intensify his awareness of Darius's presence. Every shared meal, every casual conversation became an exercise in self-control, with Bill constantly fighting to suppress feelings that he knew were deeply inappropriate. The emotional distance between Bill and Vanessa widened as he struggled with these forbidden attractions. Their once close relationship became increasingly superficial, marked by practiced smiles and hollow conversations. Vanessa, though unaware of the true nature of Bill's internal struggles, sensed the growing gulf between them but attributed it to the normal stresses of maintaining a successful business. Bill's clandestine activities intensified during this period, as if seeking to escape the uncomfortable reality of his home life. His business trips became more frequent, his returns home marked by a palpable tension that hung in the air like static before a storm. These absences, while providing temporary relief from his immediate struggles, only served to deepen the emotional chasm within his family. The weight of maintaining multiple secrets began to take its toll on Bill's mental state. His carefully constructed world started showing signs of strain, like hairline cracks in a foundation that would eventually compromise the entire structure. The man who had once seemed unshakable in his success now found himself constantly on edge, his composure threatening to crumble under the pressure of his various deceptions. The mounting tensions within the Thompson household eventually culminated in an unthinkable development. As Darius matured into his early 20s, the dynamic between him and Bill shifted dramatically. The relationship that had begun as a normal stepfather-stepson bond gradually transformed into something far more complex and inappropriate. What started with lingering glances and unspoken tensions evolved into a secret romantic relationship that would ultimately lead to tragedy. For Darius, this period marked a time of profound personal discovery and confusion. His own journey of sexual awakening had begun during his college years, particularly through his experiences on the wrestling team. The physical nature of the sport and the close contact with his teammates had awakened feelings that he struggled to understand and accept. The camaraderie of the locker room became a source of both comfort and confusion, as he found himself increasingly aware of his attraction to other men. These emerging feelings coincided with his growing awareness of Bill not just as a stepfather figure, but as a man. The admiration and respect he had developed for Bill over the years began to transform into something more complicated. The boundary between familial love and romantic attraction became increasingly blurred, leading to a situation that neither man was emotionally equipped to handle. Bill, already struggling with his own hidden desires and secret encounters with other men, found himself unable to resist the pull toward Darius. The guilt of these feelings toward his stepson competed with an overwhelming attraction that seemed to grow stronger with each passing day. Their shared secret created an intense emotional bond, one that was simultaneously intoxicating and destructive. Their relationship evolved in stolen moments and careful glances, each interaction charged with unspoken understanding. The very wrongness of their connection seemed to intensify its power, creating a dangerous cycle of attraction and guilt that neither could break. The weight of their secret grew heavier with each passing day, threatening to crush them both beneath its burden. As their forbidden relationship deepened, the complexity of the situation intensified. For Bill, the guilt of betraying Vanessa's trust became increasingly unbearable. His life had become a labyrinth of deception, navigating not only his relationship with Darius, but also his continued clandestine encounters with other men. These secret meetings, unknown to Darius, added another layer of betrayal to an already volatile situation. The atmosphere within the Thompson household grew increasingly tense. Vanessa, though unaware of the true nature of the changes in her home, couldn't help but notice the shifting dynamics. The warm family dinners that had once characterized their lives became stilted affairs, filled with uncomfortable silences and avoided glances. The distance between her and both the men in her life seemed to grow wider with each passing day. Darius, meanwhile, found himself trapped in an emotional whirlwind. His feelings for Bill had become all-consuming, yet they were tainted by the knowledge of their inappropriate nature. His relationship with his mother, once close and nurturing, became strained as the weight of his secret created an invisible barrier between them. The guilt of betraying her trust ate away at him, even as he found himself unable to break free from his emotional entanglement with Bill. The pressure of maintaining their secret relationship began to show in various ways. Bill's usually impeccable business judgment began to falter, while Darius's academic performance started to suffer. The constant stress of hiding their true nature from the world took an increasingly heavy toll on both men's mental and emotional well-being. As August 2008 approached, the situation reached a breaking point. The heat and humidity of the Atlanta summer seemed to mirror the suffocating tension within the Thompson home. Their carefully constructed facade was beginning to crumble, threatening to expose everything they had fought so desperately to keep hidden. The breaking point arrived on that fateful August 17, 2008. The day began like any other summer Sunday in Atlanta, with humidity hanging thick in the air and temperatures soaring into the mid-90s. Vanessa had left early for work, leaving Bill and Darius alone in the sprawling Victorian mansion that had once symbolized their success but now felt more like a prison of secrets. That morning, Bill had a scheduled meeting with his business partner, Robert Mitchell. The meeting, seemingly routine, brought Mitchell to the Thompson residence to discuss business matters. What transpired during this meeting would later become a crucial piece of the investigation. Mitchell's presence in the house that morning, while brief, would later establish an important timeline in the tragic events that were about to unfold. After Mitchell's departure, the house fell into an eerie quiet. It was during this period that Darius made a devastating discovery, evidence of Bill's ongoing affairs with other men. The revelation that Bill had been pursuing multiple relationships outside of their own forbidden connection shattered something within Darius. The betrayal cut deeper than mere infidelity. It undermined the very foundation of what Darius had convinced himself was a unique, if forbidden, bond. The confrontation that followed in the basement of the Thompson home would prove fatal. The basement, a space that had once served as Bill's private sanctuary for work and reflection, became the stage for a final, tragic act. The security cameras that Bill had installed throughout the property, meant to protect his family from external threats, would ultimately document the devastating internal collapse of their world. In a surge of raw emotion, their argument escalated beyond control. Darius, wrestling with feelings of betrayal, anger, and years of complicated emotions, lost control. The physical skills that had earned him accolades on the wrestling mat became weapons in a moment of uncontrolled rage. The confrontation turned violent, and in those terrible moments, the lines between love and hate, passion and fury became fatally blurred. The discovery came hours later when Vanessa returned home from work that humid afternoon. The unusual silence that greeted her immediately triggered a sense of unease. The grand house, typically alive with subtle sounds of activity, felt unnaturally still. Her calls for Bill echoed through empty rooms, each unanswered call amplifying her growing anxiety. Following her instincts, Vanessa descended into the basement where Bill often retreated to work. What she found there would forever alter the course of her life, her husband lying motionless in a pool of blood. The horrific scene triggered a primal scream that pierced the afternoon quiet, alerting neighbor Tom Henderson to the unfolding tragedy. Henderson's swift response to Vanessa's screams set in motion a chain of events that would expose the family's carefully guarded secrets. His immediate call to emergency services transformed the peaceful street into a hub of urgent activity as police cruisers and ambulances converged on the scene, their sirens shattering the neighborhood's tranquility. Detective John Richards took charge of the investigation, his experienced eye noting the signs of struggle in the basement. The absence of forced entry immediately suggested to him that this was no random act of violence. As officers secured the crime scene, paramedics confirmed what Vanessa's heart had already known. Bill Thompson was dead. The initial questioning took place in a blur of shock and disbelief. Vanessa, still reeling from her discovery, provided investigators with her movements throughout the day. Her alibi was solid. Cell phone records and workplace confirmation placed her far from the scene during the critical hours. Tom Henderson's account of hearing her screams and finding her beside Bill's body added another layer of verification to her story. The investigation's focus shifted when police uncovered Bill's phone records, revealing the morning call from Robert Mitchell. When questioned, Mitchell admitted to his visit but insisted on his early departure. His alibi, however, contained inconsistencies that initially drew investigators' attention, leading them to collect his DNA as potential evidence. As detectives delved deeper into Bill Thompson's life, the investigation took an unexpected turn. Digital forensics revealed a hidden world of secret messages and clandestine social media interactions that painted a very different picture of the successful businessman. These communications exposed Bill's complex network of relationships with other men, shattering the image of the devoted family man that Atlanta society had come to know. Even more shocking was the discovery of evidence pointing to an intimate relationship between Bill and his stepson Darius. This revelation shifted the entire trajectory of the investigation. The hidden surveillance system in the basement, installed under the guise of security, would prove to be the key to unraveling the mystery of Bill's death. The footage from that fateful morning told a devastating story. It captured Robert Mitchell's arrival and departure, confirming his alibi. But more crucially, it documented the confrontation between Bill and Darius that followed. The cameras recorded their heated argument after Darius discovered evidence of Bill's other relationships. The footage showed the situation spiraling out of control, culminating in the violent outburst that ended Bill's life. When confronted with this irrefutable evidence, Darius crumbled under the weight of his actions. His confession revealed the complex web of emotions that had led to this tragic moment: the forbidden relationship, the discovery of betrayal, and the explosive rage that followed. The young man who had once embodied such promise now found himself facing the consequences of actions born from a toxic mixture of love, betrayal, and uncontrolled anger. The trial commenced on November 10, 2008, sending shockwaves through Atlanta's social circles. Darius pleaded guilty to manslaughter, his defense citing the emotional distress and loss of control stemming from the complex and inappropriate relationship with his stepfather. The courtroom atmosphere was charged with tension as both prosecution and defense presented their cases, revealing the dark undercurrents that had run beneath the Thompson family's perfect facade. The judge, weighing the complex circumstances of the case, sentenced Darius to 15 years in prison with the possibility of parole after serving 10 years. The decision marked the final chapter in a tragedy that had shaken Atlanta's affluent community to its core. The sentence acknowledged both the severity of the crime and the extraordinary circumstances that led to its commission. For Vanessa Thompson, the trial's revelations brought a second wave of devastation. Not only had she lost her husband, but she now had to grapple with the knowledge of his secret life and the inappropriate relationship he had maintained with her son. The perfect family she thought she had created with Bill was revealed to be built on a foundation of lies and forbidden desires. The dual betrayal by both her husband and son left her world completely shattered. The impact on the community was profound. The Thompson case forced many to confront uncomfortable truths about how well they really knew their neighbors. The stately homes and manicured lawns of their affluent neighborhood no longer seemed to provide the security and certainty they once had. Behind every perfect facade, people now wondered what secrets might be lurking. This tragic story serves as a stark reminder that appearances can be deceiving, and that the human heart harbors complexities that sometimes lead to devastating consequences. The Thompson family tragedy remains one of Atlanta's most shocking cases, a cautionary tale about the destructive power of buried truths and forbidden desires. Subscribe to True Crime Stories Archive for more in-depth explorations of cases that remind us that sometimes the most devastating crimes arise from the most unexpected places. Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and share if this story impacted you.